Is it more expensive to insure an electric vehicle versus a petrol vehicle? Well, for this video, I'm going to compare a number of different models that are available in petrol and electric form. It's a bit hard to provide a direct comparison for some because they're slightly different models or different model names, different performance and so on. So that is going to impact insurance a little bit, but I've tried to find the most closely related models out there. Now, just to get one thing right from the start, this is not about being against EVs. I'm not against EVs. I don't prefer an EV. If I've got a petrol option or a diesel option, I'm going to take that first, just because I like combustion engines. I like the science behind it. I like mechanical engineering in that form. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. That's just my preference. But you have your own preference as well. Electric vehicles they can be very good in a number of different environments, such as in the city. They help reduce local emissions. They can be very cheap to run as well if you have solar, and even more so if you've got a battery and the capability of having a battery at home. But also they don't work for some people that live in apartment blocks and so on. So they've got pros and cons. My personal opinion is they probably won't take over petrol and diesel vehicles completely, but they definitely have a place in the market. They should be at least 50% of the new vehicles that are sold out there, in my opinion. Anyway, let's get stuck in. So I'm going to use an insurance company website for this comparison. I'm not going to tell you which insurance company it is because I don't want it to be an advertisement for them. It just happens to be this insurance company has a pretty good online quote form, and you punch in all your details, your age and all that sort of thing, where you live and everything. But I'm going to use the same details across every vehicle. So I've made up a bit of a generic person, someone my age, male, lives at home in their own home, garage the vehicle. I've said that we're doing about 15,000 kilometers per year because that's about the yearly average in Australia. Yeah, same address, same driver information, white standard paint, no options fitted to the vehicle, no modifications. And I've also selected that I don't have an insurance policy out now on another vehicle, and I have never had one before. So this is the same across all models that I'm comparing. Firstly, we'll start with the Hyundai Kona because this is available in exactly the same specification or the same trim level with petrol and electric power. So I'm going to go with the base models or the lowest spec models possible for all of them, because I feel like electric vehicles would get a bad run because a lot of their high-end models are actually really quick, and some of them I've actually put in, like the Tesla Model Y Performance and some of the other BYD Seal Performance. The insurance website said they can't insure this vehicle. So, I mean, if you rang them up and gave them more details, I'm sure you can, but that's just because they're so quick and so powerful. I guess that affects the insurance cost. So I'm going to stick to the base models or the lowest spec available for both of them. So the petrol premium 2 litre per year was $1,133. That's for that generic person that I came up with, kind of similar to me, I guess, in terms of age and all that. The electric premium was $1,186, so about $50 more expensive for the electric model. And again, that's with the standard white paint, no options, no metallic, nothing like that, just absolute base spec. Next up, this one's slightly different. It's the BMW X3. So I've gone with the base X-Drive 20. That's a 2 litre petrol, turbo petrol, 4-cylinder engine. And I've compared it to the iX3, which is kind of only available in one variant level. It's pretty powerful. It's faster than the 2 litre turbo. So you could say this is not a completely direct competitor. But yeah, the prices were $1,719 for the X3 20. And then the electric was $1,810. So slightly more, about $90 more expensive for the electric model. Next up, this is again, slightly different. It's the MG ZS Excite, because the electric equivalent isn't available in the lower spec Vibe trim level, but I've got the ZS Excite versus the new MG S5 EV Excite. So this basically replaces the old, what used to be called ZS Electric. So it's the S5 EV Excite. The quote came back at $1,265 for the petrol version and then $1,304 for the electric version. So what's that? It's about $40 more expensive per year for the electric model. That's the closest so far. Next up, I've got something slightly different. The Ford Mustang, and I'm going to compare it against the Mustang Mach-E. Now, this is more on the EV side because the Mustang EcoBoost I'm going to choose, so that's the base model, is a two-door sports car. So that's obviously going to push premiums up. But I don't want to, give it too many excuses or whatever, but I've got that against the Mach-E Select. So that's base model, two-wheel drive as well. Similar performance. I think I've got about 5.4 seconds out of the EcoBoost. The Mach-E is around 5.9 roughly for the claimed official 0 to 100. Insurance cost of $1,492 for the Mustang two-door and then $1,260 for the Mach-E. So in this case, the electric equivalent is cheaper to insure than the petrol. But again, I don't mean to provide, be giving excuses, but this is a two-door sports car. It doesn't have the best reputation if you check out online videos for accidents and so on, which would send the premium up even further. But anyway, it is cheaper to insure the Mach-E compared with the regular Mustang. Next up, the Skoda Karoq and the Elroq. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it actually, but anyway, these are different models, but they're both compact SUVs, and they're similarly priced and sized and all of that. Different model names though, so not direct competitors, but pretty close as you can get. I've selected the funnily enough, the Select model, and you can get that in both of these model lines. The Select 60 in the case of the electric version. Price came back at $1,145 for the petrol and then $1,426 for the electric model. So that's quite a substantial increase in price for insurance to cover the electric model over the petrol equivalent. In this case though, the electric model is more powerful and quicker, so you are getting a faster product. And I guess that could be reflected in the insurance premiums as well, being a faster product. And then lastly, I thought I'd do something a little bit unique. I'm going to compare the Toyota Camry versus the BYD Seal, because I think these are both very popular among ride-sharing drivers and so on. The Camry might be a little bit bigger in terms of dimensions, but the interior is quite similar. For this, I've chosen the mid-spec models. I wanted to do the top performance, but as I said, the insurance didn't come back. It said they couldn't insure the top spec BYD Seal performance. That's significantly quicker than the Camry. So I've selected the BYD Seal Premium, which is the mid-spec model. That's the same with the Toyota Camry Ascent Sport. So that's the mid-spec model as well. Obviously, the BYD is quicker, 230 kilowatts versus the Camry, 170 kilowatts. But the insurance came back, the Camry, $1,454, and then the BYD Seal at $1,513. So not a huge difference, but about $50 per year more to insure the electric BYD. I think this is quite interesting because I did a post on Facebook recently about the cost of a replacement battery in an EV, and some of the costs that I got, or the quotes that I got, these are the official recommended retail prices, were very, very high. Now, obviously you don't often replace a battery in an EV. If it's damaged, it's probably going to be written off, but I feel like that's going to send insurance premiums higher anyway, rather than just repair something like a petrol or diesel model. You have an accident, you smash the radiator or something like that, they can replace the radiator. Whereas as soon as you damage a battery pack, usually you've got to swap that whole pack. Now, some electric vehicles will come with a split pack, so they have 3 different sections or more. I think Polestar comes with a few different sections, and that way you can just replace one pack. So it is a little bit cheaper, but the costs were quite high. And I think that's what's driving up the insurance costs here, or at least a part of contributing to the reasons why the insurance is a little bit higher with electric vehicles. Electric vehicles can be cheaper to run in the real world, but not always. It depends on your circumstances again. So if you live in an apartment block and you can't charge the vehicle at home at night, for example, you've got to use the public charging stations. And they can be just as expensive. Unless you're comparing it to a twin-turbo V8 with 800 horsepower or something like that, then yeah. So let's take a generic 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, might get 600 to 700 kilometers out of a tank full. The tank might cost $80 to $90 to fill at the petrol station. Take an equivalent electric model, which might be a little bit quicker, so you do have to add that in. It might get about 400 to 450 kilometers out of a kind of tank full or a battery full, and it's going to cost about $60 to $70 to fill up. So by the time you reach 600 to 700 kilometers, you're going to be paying about the same using a public charging station. Again, if you can charge it at home, especially with solar power, or have a battery pack you can charge up during the day, then definitely electric vehicles can be cheaper to run. But then you do have to add in the slight increase in insurance premiums as well. And again, that was for someone of my age and at a certain location and whatever. different circumstances will affect the pricing as well. Let me know what you think though in the comments below.